Welcome, garden friends. Thanks for taking a little bit of time away from your garden to come see mine. Today we've got lots of cool stuff to do, and we're going to start right here with this pop-up garden. And for all of you that were on me for not tearing up the roots on plants, look at this thing for our thriller. It's dead. It's going back to the compost. Okay, I got this Sweet Annie. It's another annual herb that I love. I haven't grown it in a long time, but it has a really wonderful fragrance, and look at that. What do you think? Should I? Should I? I think I have to, but I'm going to be a little bit more gentle. Sweet Annie's tough as nails, but we'll see. We got a new thriller, and Sweet Annie is one of those plants that makes like 1,000 seeds, and we'll probably have Sweet Annie in this pop-up garden forever. So there's our thriller, replacing that dead one that I killed. And then this is kind of cool. These marigolds, before we filmed a few weeks ago to do this, I went to the nursery and I looked at all the flats of marigolds, and I was, in a hurry, and I saw these and I was like, oh man, I love those. And I didn't even know what the variety was when I planted them. I looked later, like a week later, looked at the tag. It's an All-America selection called Superhero Spry, and I can't believe they had it at the nursery. I'm so excited. And I've got a few more yet to plant, and I'm thinking I'm going to get another flat of them. Even though it's this late in the season, this is just my favorite marigold. Well, during the intro, right behind you is this sweet autumn clematis. I think it's only its second year, and look at all those buds. This is going to be quite a showstopper, and boy, for years to come, it is going to be spectacular. So I love my morning glories. They self-sow. They are really not too invasive in my garden. I know for a lot of people they are. I've got a couple different varieties here. My favorite is the purple Grandpa Ott. It's got a great history. I've written about the history several times. Old-fashioned variety from Bavaria, and just so beautiful. I can't get enough of them. It's my all-time favorite basil. It's called Everleaf Emerald Towers. You can see how it grows like a column. And a good gardening friend of mine found one and said, is this the one you love? Because I was having trouble tracking one down. And I said, yeah. It took us about 2 months to finally get together. And I'm telling you what, putting it in this container with that pit moss that we planted in the containers last week, it just is going to town. And the texture, the flavor, disease resistant, and that everleaf part means it's very hard for this plant to go to seed. And when any plant goes to seed, it changes the flavor of the leaf. In the case of basil, it doesn't make it bad, it just makes it different. And so everything they've bred into this thing has made it better. So many times things are bred into a plant like disease resistance, then you can't eat it, you can't taste it. But this one, taste, texture, disease resistant, and doesn't go to seed. It's good. I was out here this morning looking at this Ligularia, Britt Marie Crawford, and I was going to do a garden consult, and I wanted to tell them all about this plant. The deer won't touch it. It's never been watered. It's a shade lover, and look at these unusual daisy-shaped flowers. This is when it is a star in the garden, but the foliage, green and purple and bronze, it's just a superior plant. And as I said, I can grow it right outside here and the deer walk right by. Time to plant our fall crop of peas. You know how I love to plant my peas early in the season, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. In that case, I'm soaking the seeds overnight because it's cold and I want to get them to germinate. In this case, where we've got 80-degree temperatures, I've just got a nice bed of compost with 3 rows in here. I'm just going to sprinkle some seeds in. This is just a snow pea, and I love snow peas. And even though this is a cool weather crop, they are going to sprout nicely in this heat. And then as the days get shorter and cooler, they're going to come to fruition at the end of the season. And I just love to have another crop of peas. I've got a nice surprise that I want to show you too after I get this done. And after I put these peas in and push them down, I'm going to put my supports in. And do you remember what I use for my supports? It's fun. Get some water on them too. Putting just a light coat of straw on here. We want to make sure these seeds stay moist until they sprout. And now I'm going to get my supports, and then it's our surprise. Our golf clubs, that's our support. And I told the story before. I did a story about a guy who works at a golf course, and these stay in the lost and found for a year. And then he was using them in his garden. I did a story, and he wanted to see my garden, and he brought me some golf clubs. What do you think? Let me know. Would you put golf clubs in your garden? I certainly would in mine. And as they sprout, we'll probably throw a few more in so they can climb up. I think it's so fun. Can't wait to harvest peas again. Now our surprise. This is where I had some of my spring peas, and it's one I love called Shiraz Purple Snow. And I just let them go, and they dropped their seeds, and they're sprouting on their own. So I'll have some more peas over here for the fall too, which is, I love when things self-sow. It's awesome. Well, this is kind of funny. I went to the nursery a couple weeks ago to get some cool weather crops for a friend of mine who was on vacation. I like to get them right when they come in. Take care of them here, keep them in morning sun, afternoon shade, keep them watered. And I went back today, and the thing I wanted to plant here, lettuce, they were out of. It's all coming in tomorrow. So I've got arugula, but I found one of these 6-packs that has arugula, a little bit of butter crunch lettuce, and some kind of pak choi. So we're going to start there. This bed all along here is great. I added a little bit of compost here, but I'll be able to plant in here. And this is, again, one of these spots that I love for cool weather crops that right now they're not getting the sun they want, but they will as soon as the trees start to thin out. And I love pak choi, and it's gonna love this spot, and a nice little butter crunch lettuce. I'm gonna get some more lettuce tomorrow. And then our arugula. I fell in love with arugula when my wife and I went to Italy for our 25th anniversary. We didn't know really what arugula was. It was served as rocket in this salad, and since then I've been completely obsessed with arugula. And you know, I could have started from seed, but it's just nice to have these big plants already ready to go. All right. And arugula is basically a weed, and I just love it. All right. Oh, another pak choi. Huh, that's cool. These will probably get too big for the spot, but we'll see. Arugula. I am going to water and mulch, and these will be good to go, and I'm going to be harvesting these all the way through at least November. Arugula can take just about anything. Might even go all winter if I put some protection on top. All right, like I said, tomorrow we're going back to the nursery when that stuff comes in. I'm gonna do a whole bed of nice looking butter crunch lettuce. Look at this nice flat behind you that I have for my friend. Well, I've been hearing from a lot of gardeners that are dealing with something on their tomatoes and peppers called blossom end rot. And what happens is you get this kind of brown or black lesion on the bottom of the plant. And it's so frustrating because you've babied those plants along. And it's a calcium deficiency, but the calcium's usually there. We need water to get the calcium to the tomato. So we see it a lot in container plants. Some varieties are more susceptible than others. So evenly moist soil is what makes the blossom end rot go away. So you could have blossom end rot on the bottom tomatoes, and you see that, remove those, and then water right, mulch, keep the soil evenly moist, and the next tomatoes will be fine. The other thing is this Septoria leaf spot and early blight, which this year it's been so humid and it's just hard to avoid. At this point of the season, we're just removing infected leaves. It doesn't kill the plant, it just slows it down. It's going to basically defoliate the plant. But remove your infected foliage. If you really wanted to go after it, we're a little late in the season, but there's an organic fungicide from Bonide called Revitalize that would probably keep something like this from getting the fungal issue. But again, we're towards the end of the season. Fungicides work best when they're applied before we see signs of damage. Now it's time for Talking Trees from the Davey Tree Expert Company. I'm joined again by Rob Kruljac. He's Assistant District Manager for the North Pittsburgh office of the Davey Tree Expert Company. And Rob, this looks bad to me. This looks like some kind of fungus or something on my tree.
You know, we get this phone call a lot, depending on the wetness and the dampness of the spring months. It's actually lichen, Doug, and it's no problem to the tree at all. Some years it can be really aggressive, sometimes not, but it has nothing to do with the tree's health or affects it at all. That's where lichen lives, on the side of the trees. It's where it collects its water, nutrients, and sunlight.
And there's some kind of symbiotic relationship between the tree and the lichen?
No, the lichen's actually a symbiotic relationship between a fungus and an algae.
Okay.
So that's what lichen is.
So what about moss? First off, is it always on the north side of a tree?
It seems to be, yes.
Really?
Yeah, it's just shadier, a better environment, holds more water.
And is it a bad thing on a tree?
Not at all, no. So if you see that, you know, if you're worried about it, please give us a call. You can always send a picture in. We can tell you pretty quickly if that's what it is. If it's something else, we can come out and take a look.
So when we walked up to the tree, you pointed out something to me sounds pretty serious.
Yeah, you actually have a canker here, a bleeding canker at the base of the tree, which can affect the vascular tissue underneath the bark. This is something we'd like to have maybe Vince, one of the sales arborists, look at for you and get you a quote on treating that. You'll see them, dark patches, often oozing on the sides of oaks, beeches a lot of times. So if you notice something like this, that it can be very moist, wet looking, dark, you know, let us know, because that's something we want to look at for.
Yeah, what if that got worse? Would that be in the end of the tree?
It could, yes.
Boy.
Yeah, it can spread and cut off the vascular system, which would cause significant harm.
In general, what kind of season was it for the trees this year, with that dry spell and then lots of rain?
Very tough.
What are you seeing?
Very tough. Yeah, with the very cold weather we had. Well, we had a quick warm up in the winter. Things thought it was spring, leaves came out, buds came out. Then we dipped into very cold temperatures, knocked back a lot of things, and then after that we were in like a 3-month drought. So this was a tough year for trees to recover from that early spring, and we'll see what happens next year.
I'm getting lots of questions about sticky stuff underneath maple trees. What is that?
That's going to be your spotted lanternfly.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So yeah, that's their byproduct. Honeydew that is coming down, and yes, sooty mold forms on top of it, and it can be a real mess. So
I didn't know that they were on maples.
Yep, they love the Atlantis tree, the tree of heaven, but you'll also find them on maples and vines a lot of times, Virginia creeper and such. We see them on there. So we can treat the tree with a pesticide that will kill them when they start feeding on the tree, to take care of you have a problem with that, you know, on your patio or above your cars or wherever you park.
There are infestation in lots of parts of the area. I was at the mall yesterday, and it was just, there were a path of them that people were walking on, you know, because they seem to like that real hot, you know, concrete. They're all over it.
Yes, and you will see patches of it. You know, when they first arrived in Pittsburgh, it was really along the waterways, along the rivers. They seem to be being transported that somehow along there. But now we're starting to see them in the suburbs, moving out from the city center.
All right, my friend.
All right, good seeing you.
It was a good season.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.
For more information about everything we talked about today, go to DougOster.com. I'd love to hear from you too. Like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and tell me what you think of those golf clubs. Until next week, keep planting, and we will see you then.